Hey, you wanna know something that'll blow your mind? Okay, that's a terrible joke. And plus, I don't want my video to be copyrighted, so I'll just move on from there. Now, I know that since Walpurgis is coming soon, I should cover the magical girls, especially Queen of Hatred. My god, magical girl Dawn is so cute. But the two IDs and Ego are not coming for a while. About 6 weeks by the time the video releases. So instead, I might as well make a video that has been delayed by a month from now thanks to Canto 8, the second part of the abnormalities that are related to fire. Now, in the previous video, we have covered all of these abnormalities, and if you are intrigued about any of the ones that are shown, do check it out. It's in the description. But to those that have checked it out, or you just don't care that much about them, then let me remind you of what abnormalities we are going to cover now, which are Scorched Girl, Rise and Ashes, Doomsday Calendar, Skin Prophet, and Basilisk Soup. Yay. Anyways, let's get into it. Like, right now. Probably the abnormality in this list with the most amount of information, F-01-02 is a 10th class abnormality that has probably angered a few people in Lobotomy Corporation, not noticing that she is out and then her exploding. Scorched Girl is, well, just a girl with a big match stabbing her, and is also quite a bit charred here and there, you know, which is certainly a bit meh looking amongst other tat abnormalities, me personally. But thematically, however, it is quite cool, I'd say. As a fairy tale abnormality, it is based off of a short Danish tale named The Little Match Girl, which can explain a bit onto what this abnormality represents. So in the short story, we follow a girl who tries to sell matches on the streets of New Year's Eve, but she has failed at selling any of them and is afraid to go home since her father is abusive. So she huddles down and lights a match at a corner. Through that match, she sees a bunch of nice visions, such as an iron stove, roasted goose, happy family, etc. Eventually, a shooting star appears and she believes that, according to her late grandmother, someone has left to heaven. And to keep that image going, she lights all of the matches for as long as possible until she freezes to death, which is a somber and happy ending, I'd say. Now, Scorched Girl is what I call an alteration of that tale by having her succumb to despair and wants to burn everything and everyone to the ground because she ran out of matches, aka her hope. Scorched Girl represents the want for hope in a cruel and cold world, and eventually succumbing to said darkness, she burned the village she lived in to the ground. Now, whether that is intentional or not, we are yet to see, but I'd say it most likely is intentional, since the ego suit suggests as such. The ashy design reminds one of the hatred against all the merry things in the world, and the desire to burn it all. The ego weapon as well, by the way. Now, another thing that suggests that was the intention is its dialogue, saying shit like, if I must perish, then I'll make you meet the same fate. And the more famous one, wait for me, I'm coming to you, who will be reduced to ash, which is a pretty cool line for a decent-ish looking abnormality with cool themes. And that theming is partially seen in the egos. Fourth match flame is seen in 3 or 4 characters: Ryoshu, Rodian, Yisan, and Dawn, or Sinclair, maybe. It may have been cancelled, but I might as well talk about this unreleased ego. So, this ego is kinda unique, since they all kinda possess aspects of the characters and their pasts. Yisan possesses a lab coat and an ashen wing, similar to how Yisan has his broken wings. Ryoshu has a recognizable sword, and Rodian has a giant axe, I guess. Well, the other thing is the heart mark that she has on her chest, so that's great. And the unreleased ego, that I assume to be Dawn, has the lance. I don't assume it to be Sinclair because, like, come on. Other than the hair, what else suggests that unreleased fourth match flame ego to be Sinclair? And all of them have something to do with burning everything to ash, and their wish to do that. Now, the difference is that Rodian is in the process of burning it all, whilst Yisan and Ryoshu have already burnt their cities. Now, why is that? Well, it's obvious actually. Rodian is not finished with her arc of removing the past, as seen in TKT, so that's something. Now, unlike Scorched Girl, who had a bunch of things to talk on, Rise and Ashes has practically nothing on it. Rise and Ashes was one of the first abnormalities to be released in the mirror dungeons. It is a big mound of ash with some black eyes and a screaming mouth, living in an ash-fallen desert. And in the mirror dungeon event, it starts off with Cry in this wilderness, with the fog rising, which is the abnormality by the way. Its shape resembles a human, yet it could be a spirit or a ghost taking form. Its mouth, agape as if crying in despair, is completely dark. From there you can do two things: walk into the mist or stare at it. If you walk into it, you're given ashes to ashes if you succeed. If you fail, you get lost in the fog and nothing happens. If you stare at the fog though, you either realize that it's all a trick played by shadows, or you become engulfed by the abnormality. I'll be honest, there is absolutely fucking nothing on it. Like, what can I talk about it? The relation between ashes to ashes and dust to dust, the fact that this abnormality may have some relations to a Scorch Girl. I mean, it looks cool, but that's it. And I have seen that it may have some relation to Ryoshu, which the only way that I can see it is the fact that it inflicts burn, but that's it. I haven't seen nothing else. I'm moving on. M-04-04-05 is a He 8 class abnormality that is very cool on a conceptual level. Design-wise, it's kinda meh, just a big Mayan calendar covered in muscle, but everything else is cool. Now, I said that it is a Mayan calendar, but if we want to be extra specific, it is mostly based off of the Doomsday phenomenon back in 2012, aka the end of the universe, which the idea also came from the Aztecs as well. So that's cool, I guess. Hell, there are even mentions of the end times on a couple things that the abnormality has, such as their ego gifts, Etched to Doomsday and Shard of Apocalypse, obtained from Kanto 1's dungeon and the mirror dungeons, respectively. The ego, Impending Day, its skill, Universe of Flame, also suggests that. To be honest, there's a lot to mention to Doomsday and the like, but what makes this one more unique than other abnormalities who also have some reference to the end of the world is its appraisal, because this abnormality is not alone. It has followers. Followers made of muscle and also wear a mask, sometimes burning from the inside. They pray for the end times essentially, and wouldn't mind being an offering to the calendar, because they'd love to experience the end. Now, what is that end that the dolls would love to experience? Well, according to Isan, the doomsday that calendar talks on is interesting and quite long. Isan essentially says that when he quote-unquote died, he did not feel it. He was not subjected to the sort of pain or flash and disarray that normally accompanies a demise that time. It felt like he was being transported to a different place entirely, actually, like a different universe or dimension. But not only the location changed, his body changed as well, and that he can see the world, the end of it, at least. Hell, it may even be wrong to say that he is seeing the Doomsday. Isan thought that he was this Doomsday. He was not existent and was only present there. And from there, he essentially went into a mental breakdown from what Faust said. Yeah, it's certainly something, huh? So in short, Doomsday Calendar is an abnormality that represents the appraisal of the end of the world. And I guess that's really all there is to it. I could talk on the ego Impending Day. However, there really isn't much to talk on with this ego, if I'm being honest. I don't know what Sinclair has to offer to represent the literal heat death of the universe, other than the mark. It seems weird. So let's just move on. You know how much of a coincidence there is in having two abnormalities that not only have a relation to fire, but also can predict the future? It's insane. Well, with my 2 pennies at hand, let's talk on T-03-21-09, which is a Tet 4 class abnormality, and has quite a relation to Lobotomy Corporation's Skin Prophecy, not Prophet. We'll cover that eventually. Anyways, Skin Prophet is a tall being with 3 arms and 3 eyes, and has a big book that the Skin Prophet uses to ride on with its 3rd arm. It also lives in a very dark room with unlit candles all over. At least that's how it's described by Otis. Essentially, this abnormality is a shut-in who writes shit on his special diary. And what is this shit he's writing on this book? Well, let's talk on the murder dungeon event that happens. We see the abnormality in his dark room with some candles lit up, with each eye taking turns to glare at his big book. You can't tell what it's referencing, or if there's any deliberation in its writing. Hands are busy nonetheless, yearning for destruction and doom. doom. It writes and writes and writes. You feel the passages it's writing may be prophecies for some place and some time. From there, you can do 3 things. Snuff out the candles, which will put the room in darkness, but it doesn't stop the abnormality from writing, with the only light left was on the quill it held. A quill of flame that was eventually snuffed out by our breaths. And you get fiery down with that. You can gather all these candles together to make a pillar of flame, making the abnormality finally take notice of you. Or you can take a peek, like look at the book and see what the abnormality considers to be the true future. Now, I say considers because I feel like this abnormality is extremely biased to its yearning for destruction and doom, and looks all over the future for more destruction. But according to the combat event, the future is also endless, meaning that it will continue writing the future endlessly, not for anyone else, but for its own satisfaction, which is also pleasantly shown in the ego. The ego, 9-2, is an ego held by Faust and Sinclair, which are quite cool if I were to say. Faust having this ego is quite understandable. An abnormality who lusts for a sort of knowledge, or in her case, the truth, would make sense to have, while Sinclair is, once again, kinda weird to have. He has 2 egos based off of abnormalities that reference the end of everything. Maybe that says something? Anyways, I want to say that's it, but there's one more abnormality that I guess I have to cover. An abnormality with an ego that kinda, well, you know what it is. Now, before we start picking up our pitchforks and torches, I'll say the abnormality is completely different from the ego. The ego can be completely bullshit, but also have a cool looking abnormality, which Basilisk Soup is one of them. On another unreleased abnormality, Basilisk Soup is quite a cool abnormality design-wise. Like, he's a Drake wyvern thing made out of a stew, at least according to the ego. And overall, it's a pretty nice looking abnormality. Now, thematics-wise, it's probably nothing. The only thing that I guess I can link it to is the stone soup folklore, where a bunch of travelers entered a village with their empty cooking pot. None of the villagers wanted to share their food with them, so they decided to go to a stream, place a big stone in it, and place it on a fire. One of the villagers became curious and asked what they were making. The travelers said that they're making something called a stone soup, which tastes great and would like to share, but they don't have the garnish to make it better. So the villager gives them a few carrots for a taste of the stone soup. Soon, more villagers gave the travelers some of their ingredients, from meat to milk to more veggies, and eventually the stone soup is finished and the stone is removed, and everyone in the village enjoys some soup, even if the travelers decided to trick the villagers with the stone soup, since rocks are inedible, of course. Now, from that tale, it's now a bit obvious as to why the abnormality takes in the form of a coiling lizard, since the traveler decided to trick the villagers with deceit, and lizards usually are known to be liars in certain myths. And plus, considering the atmosphere of a tavern, it's also nice to see that the abnormality looks like a wyvern with a cauldron inside, which in the Mirror Dungeon event, it is described as an ancient stew, a stew so ancient in fact that it's become impossible to tell what the original ingredients may have been. Soon, a voice spurts out from under the cauldron. There lies a sentient heart flame speaking to us. There isn't anyone left there to enjoy the stew. Would you mind removing the cauldron? From there, you can take the cauldron, which the heart flame thanked us for. Well, he even gets a bit worried if we dropped it and burn ourselves. You can also feed on the stew, which, according to the sinners, the stew tasted of stewed meat and mysterious veggies, with the heart flame remaining silent but satisfied. Or we can just take the heart flame itself, since it's more interesting than the cauldron. Like, it talks, of course it's more interesting. And I guess that's all with the abnormality. Now, let's finish it off with the egos. Lifetimes 2 Dawn is cool, I guess. Lifetimes 2 Sinclair, however, is a unique case. Like, he's all over the place. Hell, it's even intentionally all over the place, since the ego that Sinclair has represents the fact that he wants to share the soup with everyone. Now, is it good? Kind of, I guess. I don't have Lifetimes 2 Sinclair, so I can't relate, but I have heard plenty of times on how bad this ego works. Hell, just by looking at it, it seems meh, I guess. Now, Dawn, on the other hand, seems a bit more direct with telling you to try her soup. It's fine, but underwhelming is what I'll say. Anyways, yeah, this abnormality is kind of unique for not having much, and a bit casual in the themes it presents, which is kind of cool, I'd say. I don't mind having abnormalities that are built to the brim with themes and lore, but also having some quite cool-ish and casual abnormalities to cover. I like that. Anyways, don't have much to say at the end other than that I am excited for that Merceau ID. It it looks amazing. And Magical Girl Dawn and the Knight of Justice identity, whoever that may be on. So, bye.